Jochen gave me a few points to talk about. Let's start first with migration of this smoke test pipeline. Maybe Aftab can say a word, or we are about to move it, but I don't know where we are at the moment, or if something is blocked.
Yes, so yeah, we are blocked by these secrets that are required.
Right.
So in order for that one, for the old pipeline, who are the owners, they had to move it to the new setup.
Mhm.
So in order to consume it, so we are blocked by that. And also maybe, yeah, so I would say this is the first thing that we have to move. If they are done, then I think so we can move it, but it depends also on, for example, the bubble, the setup, how it going to be looked or how you can manage it.
Right.
I'm not pretty sure with that one, but yeah, we need something on that one, so we can just begin with it.
Yeah, it uses the CATS validation environment, which is long lived. So we'll need to make sure that we get all of the credentials for that into the credential store for the new concourse.
Mhm.
It might be easier to pair on that, because that way either Carson or I could access the values that we need, copy them over, validate, make sure that everything's working, rather than trying to guess and think, okay, what do we need to copy over, and not getting it right and going back and forth over a course of a few days at that point. So that might be an easier approach. I'm not sure. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm about to go on holiday tomorrow. Otherwise, I would,
yeah, no problem. We can also schedule something for next week.
So it might have to, if Carson feels comfortable doing it, then that's fine. If not, I can do it when I get back. We can schedule something.
I'm also planning to be on holiday tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, well that answers that
popular these days. But yeah, it's summer. What would you do?
Right. Okay, so let's plan for something when we're back. I am back on, what is that date? Let me open the calendar. Okay. I am back on the 27th, which is 2 weeks on Monday. So we could do something that week. I'm not sure how long you're away for, Carson, whether you're back sooner.
I'm back sooner.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be back next week, and I'll actually be working East Coast hours, which would mean I could start earlier if that works better with pairing.
I think it definitely makes for a more reasonable overlap for pairing, yes.
Yeah. Then maybe after, can you try to get in a pairing session with Carson next week or whatever? Can also ask if Jochen wants to join.
Sure.
Makes sense. Then we can continue and see how far we get. That's
sure.
I think after the first pipeline is done, then it should be easier. Than most of the stuff is touched once. And
Carson, have you accessed CredHub on the Valence Concourse side?
I can't say I have, but I know where to go for it. It's in the Valent Env's repo, right? And then once you go into
the Concourse directory, it should target it automatically.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Nice. All right. So, I mean, the only thing I would say is when you migrate a pipeline and get it flowing, just post the one on Valent CI so that we know that one's been migrated. And then once we've confirmed that it's working, I mean, at some point in time, we'll want to delete everything, but we can wait on that. If it's paused, then it's fine.
Cool.
So that should be good.
Yeah. Then I understood that, I mean, the CF deployment, the last pairing session went well. So we have a new CF deployment version. I talked, I could not participate because we had here a major outage in one of the landscapes.
Right. Yeah, but yeah, I think everything went well. It was fairly straightforward. So I don't think there were any surprises. It's not a particularly complicated process. So
yeah. So I talked to Jochen, and he meant, well, he wouldn't probably be ready to run the next release his own. It starts with credentials, and the pipelines are not yet moved over. But once they are moved over, maybe then we can have a pairing session the other way around, so that let's say somebody, Jochen Aftab or so, tries it out, and you are more in the supporting role and not in the driving role, and then we see, and we can then adjust the documentation.
Yep.
And then over time, what then becomes probably a challenge is to decide about a schedule or who does what. Usually, if responsibility is spread across multiple organizations, well, it tends that nothing happens at the end. But that's.
Yeah, we have the reminder every Friday to kind of release, I think.
Every other Friday.
Every other Friday, okay.
Yeah, that's sufficient, I would say, every 2 weeks. It's,
and then I think if someone comes to the channel with a change that they've submitted that is more urgent, then we just do one ad hoc if someone requests it. Yeah, that sounds fine. And this mirrors, I think, how I onboarded you, Carson. You know, you watched me in the first one, I watched you in the second one, and then you just ask questions if you had any problems. So yeah, we should be good.
Cool. Yep, then one more time, thanks a lot for trying out this disable v2 API YAML, maybe some background information here. So for the SAP run landscapes, we think about switching off v2 eventually. I mean, it's a long running process. We are talking here about 23 or something like that, but we now start to prepare and collect requirements that still have to be implemented in v3, etc. And one of the things was to try it out. The failing tests, I looked into it, and it looks to me that's simple problem in the acceptance test itself, because there's a hard-coded v2 reference inside, and the interesting is this call doesn't exist in v3, at least as such, but this is something Cloud Controller specific, and we will probably find a replacement or rewrite the test. So I created an issue for it, and I guess I will put it into the backlog here on the SAP side, because this is something where we are interested in. Yeah,
I mean, it was services SSO, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
So it might be worth reaching out to the services API team. I'm not sure which working group manages that now, to see what the replacement is and what the mapping is from v2 to v3, so that just to have that information to make it easier to rewrite the test.
Yeah, we can check with the copy team because. Here at least, and I also looked it up in the Cloud Controller coding, what kind of information is taken. It might be that we have to use a roles call, or we replace it by something different where we simply rely on a side effect that you have the correct rights. I think that's what the test is supposed to check, that you can run it on behalf of somebody else, and then the proper rights should be applied. And I don't know, an update on certain service instance parameters should be good to check that as well.
Makes sense.
But okay. Yeah, we can look inside here. Good. Then there was, I don't know, Jochen asked me or mentioned that you are starting to do some work on a pipeline for Gemmy, or I don't know what is here the status.
I think we just started thinking about it.
We started talking about it.
Okay, yeah.
The first step that we need is Bosch bootloader does not currently create a DNS runtime config that includes the Jammy stem cell. And so there's work to do there to get that updated. I could PR the changes into that, but that will need coordinating, I think, the Bosch part of the infrastructure working group now maintains Bubble. So I'd have to reach out to them and get that merged and get a new release cut.
They did put they put Jammy into the Bosch deployment relatively recently. I would think that it's a short path from there to Bubble, but I don't know much about Bubble.
But then there's also the DNS runtime config that I think Bubble creates by itself. So there might actually be code in Bubble that needs changing.
Right. There, Bosch deployment has a DNS runtime.
Oh, maybe it's just using that one then. Okay. Let me look.
Yeah. When it comes to the complete pipeline and all the deploy Bosch releases, and at least I know that the cloud controller won't work with Jammy yet because it's still not ported to Ruby 3 or Ruby 3.1 actually. This is something where we have it on the agenda. I mean, the implementation work was done basically by the VMware copy team, and what we have on our agenda is to fix some of the acceptance tests. I think CATS is working, but there are other backup and restore and things like that which are not yet working, and we wanted to look inside and then finally get the Ruby 3 update first of all merged, and then Ruby 3.1 should be hopefully straightforward because there are less changes. And then cloud controller could be prepared, but until that is done, it doesn't make sense. We would have started the work. Unfortunately, we have now to focus on the outage follow-ups. There were some slow API calls which brought our Postgres to 100% CPU, and that has at the moment a little priority, but we will come back to this other.
Sounds fair. Okay, yeah, it does look like it just uses the DNS runtime config from Bosch deployment. So we just need to get a Bosch deployment bump in, and then we should be good. So yeah, I reached out to the team that I thought was maintaining it, but apparently it's been handed off to the working group already. So I need to reach out to the Bosch team and talk to them.
Foundational infrastructure is hard to get a hold of. They don't have their own channel. So I never know where to reach out for them.
Okay.
But they do have at least regular working group meetings, and they are active. So Ruben at least is reacting.
I mean, given that it's Bosch related, I'd probably just reach out in the Bosch channel for starters.
Fair enough.
And see what they say. I know in the past they've been very reluctant to take over the ownership of Bubble because they just don't know that much about it. So hopefully this isn't too painful. We'll see.
Yeah.
If it's simple, hopefully we can get it on their radar and agenda.
Yeah, I mean, when I was maintaining Bubble, before I handed it off, there was an automatic pipeline that should have bumped Bosch deployment, validated everything, and cut releases without me having to do anything. And so it really, for me, was just maintaining the pipeline and watching for red builds. So I can only assume that something's gone wrong because I noticed that they haven't cut a release since February. And I'm pretty sure there have been Bosch deployment releases this whole time, or new commits to it. So I can only assume something's wrong in CI, and they just need to look at it and figure out what the problem is. So I'll see what help I can offer there, and we'll try and get that unstuck.
If I don't think they have a pipeline for Bosch bootloader anymore, so that might be the problem.
Oh, it might still be the cryogenics team. Okay, I know the cryogenics team had it up and running, and that's what was cutting releases up until February, and then something happened. Whether that was the time that they handed over, I'm not sure. I'll keep digging, try and get to the bottom of it, see who I need to help get the pipeline set up, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah, it sounds like y'all have already started Jammy stuff and know a lot more than us, which is great. And I know the cloud controller, that I saw that issue for Jammy, and I've seen some scattered issues across various repos saying this doesn't work with Jammy, but figured that a jammy pipeline might be more coordinated way of pointing to and saying like your stuff doesn't work. Let's fix it.
Yeah, I know they're still talking about the rootfs stem cell interaction as well, and being able to disconnect, having to bump both of them at the same time. So yeah, that would be interesting.
There is a CF Linux FS4 repo. I think it just doesn't work.
Right, and I think they wanted to make sure that they could bump one independently of the other. So FS3 needs to continue to work.
Yeah, I think that was the plan. Yeah. So from the last TOC meeting, I heard that there is a team in the runtime interfaces working group under Greg that at least started to work on CF Linux FS4, but I don't know how far they are. I mean, there are the build packs involved. You have to have both versions, and nobody knows how far they are. So this is something where we have no stakes in it, besides then consuming the stuff and handling the migration, which is a challenge in its own, but not on the direct work. But yeah.
So I think that's still going to be a fairly long process at this point. I don't know what the target date is for having a 1.x stem cell that works and we can actually use.
Yeah, I think the only plan is an RFC from in the working group, and that's very vague. It just says everything will be there in time before April 23.
Okay, right. We've got 10 months. Latest. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. And one last question that Jochen had is, well, there was this news that Broadcom acquired VMware. Do you know, will this have an impact on CF? Everybody is asking, but probably yourself.
I don't think we know much of what kind of impact this will have at this point. I think we're just crossing our fingers and waiting to see what happens.
Yeah. We do the same.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
Okay, yeah, got it. Understand. Okay, that was what I had on the agenda. Do you have questions, need support or whatever?
Do you all want to set up a specific time and day for next week to pair on moving that pipeline over? Seems
would make sense.
Yeah,
I would ask Aftab maybe. It's from your calendar.
Yeah, we can have a short thing regarding that one. I mean, like the timing for the last time that we had, like a pairing, maybe that will be fine from my side, but also Jochen is also not here, so I have to look whether he will be available for the pairing session or not. So
yeah, but we could let's say try to find a slot now. I don't know, Monday afternoon. Our time, it's Monday morning on your time.
You said you were going to be East Coast time, so
next week, yeah.
There's 3 hours next extra overlap there if you want to start earlier.
Yeah, so if this time would be right now would be 12 East Coast time, something like that.
Yeah, it's 50 East Coast time.
Yeah.
Right now.
So I could start. This meeting was at 8:30, and I could start. What, 3 hours before that, even?
So if you were 8:30 East Coast time instead of 8:30 West Coast time, that would be 2:30 Western European time instead of.
Yeah, probably. Or we make it 3 hour time. That's I need the time zone calculator.
I think 3 is 9.
3 p.m.
Because you're 9 hours ahead of us, I believe. 6 hours ahead.
3 is 9.
Yeah.
You're right.
So okay. Would that fit for you, Aftab?
Can we do Tuesday instead of Monday? Does that work?
Tuesday. Yeah.
Tuesday.
because I'll be settling into my new digs on Monday.
Are you
It'll be
moving
nice to-
permanently?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm just working out of my parents' flat,
Oh, nice.
so I don't know what it's gonna be like yet.
Yeah.
Yep. Should work as I won't participate, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If it's
Sure.
okay.
Yeah, it's work. Yeah. It's okay.
Tuesday, 3 p.m.
Western European time.
Western European time, 9 a.m. Eastern time, US.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think I'm right in calling that Western European time. I just know it's 1 hour ahead of the UK.
Western.
You still remember that?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, with my parents being in the UK and Jens' parents being in Malaysia, I live time zones all the time to figure out who I can talk to, who's awake, who's asleep.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. As soon as my parents left the foreign country they're in, I was like, I'm not gonna remember time zones. Forgetting about it forever.
Yeah. It's a never-ending problem. I guess that's why I always laugh when everyone complains about daylight savings time. It's like, what's the problem? It's time. Just yeah. I don't think we have anything else to cover.
I think that's it for now. Let's see.
Okay.
Let the pipelines move, and then we're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thanks a lot, and then
Thanks, everyone.
see you
Yep.
soon. Bye bye.
See you.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.